Hey there, fellow adventurers. Thanks to Paul Bello at LinRPG Reads for sending this article our way. We're diving into Best 12 Deadly, Yet Funny Traps You've Never Used in a D&D Tabletop Session, written by Isaac Hansen and published on October 25th, 2024. It's really a goldmine of ideas for dungeon masters looking to spice up their campaigns. It reminds me of this time our group was exploring the supposedly abandoned temple. We were all on edge expecting, like a classic spike trap or a pit full of snakes, but nope. What we got was this room full of enchanted instruments. Expert speaker. Oh no. Host speaker. Yeah. And they started playing this ridiculously upbeat polka tune the second we stepped in. Expert speaker. Oh my goodness. Host speaker. We were dying. We couldn't stop laughing long enough to disarm the real threat. Expert speaker, which was host speaker. A magical glyph hidden under a tuba. Expert speaker. Oh wow. Host speaker.
Yeah, it was wild. But you know what's so great about this article? It recognizes that humor can exist even in settings that are typically associated with, danger and suspense.
It really encourages DMs to think outside the typical tropes and create traps that are not only challenging, but also genuinely entertaining for players. Expert speaker. Right. Yeah, because I think when players are laughing and having fun, they're more engaged in the story and they're more invested in their characters. Host speaker. Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack these 12 hilarious traps. We'll explore what makes them so effective, how they can be implemented in your games, and what kind of role-playing opportunities they offer. So first up, we have a trap that's sure to test your players' wit and their sense of humor, the Sphinx's knock-knock joke. Picture this. You're exploring an ancient tomb, you round a corner, and boom, there's a Sphinx looking all regal and imposing. But instead of hitting you with a classic riddle, the Sphinx demands a knock-knock joke. Expert speaker. Oh my God, host speaker. And not just any joke. It has to be punny, it has to be clever, and it has to make the Sphinx laugh, or else expert speaker. What? Host speaker. Yeah, expert speaker. That's terrifying. Host speaker. I know, right? This trap is brilliant because it totally subverts player expectations right from the start. They're primed for a serious intellectual challenge, and instead they're faced with this creature that wants to be entertained. It forces them to think on their feet, tap into their comedic side, and maybe brush up on their pun game. Expert speaker. The article suggests that DMs incorporate mechanics that actually compel players to participate. So like maybe the room starts filling with sand or the Sphinx starts casting increasingly menacing spells. Suddenly, your players are sweating over whether their next pun will be funny enough to save their lives. Host speaker. Right. And let's not forget the role-playing potential here. Imagine the dynamic between a stoic warrior trying to come up with a silly joke and a quick-witted rogue who's in their element trading puns with a mythical creature. It's a recipe for some truly memorable campaign moments. Expert speaker. Yeah, absolutely. Host speaker. Next up, we have a trap that's all about messing with your players' minds. The Mimic's Mirror Maze. Now, we all know mimics, those pesky creatures that like to disguise themselves as treasure chests or other tempting objects. But imagine a whole maze filled with them, each one perfectly reflecting its surroundings. It's a recipe for paranoia and some serious jump scares. Yeah. Expert speaker. Oh, yeah. Definitely. The article emphasizes the importance of playing with perception in this trap. The players are constantly second-guessing themselves, unsure of what's real and what's a mimic in disguise. Every reflection becomes a potential threat, and every step they take could lead to a surprise attack. Host speaker. Yeah, and the article also suggests incorporating mechanics that keep the players on their toes. Imagine the mirrors subtly shifting, altering the maze's layout, making it impossible to rely on memory or landmarks. It becomes a test of observation, spatial awareness, and maybe a little bit of luck. Expert speaker. And, let's not underestimate the comedic potential of this trap. Picture your players like walking straight into a mirror thinking it's a doorway or trying to fight their own reflections, convinced their mimics it's pure slapstick gold. Host speaker. Oh, absolutely. All right, brace yourselves for this one. The curse of the pun-laden poltergeist. This trap is either going to have your players rolling on the floor laughing or groaning in agony. Imagine a haunted library filled with dusty tomes and flickering candles. But the real threat isn't a spooky ghost. It's a poltergeist that communicates exclusively through puns. Expert speaker. Oh no, not puns. Host speaker. I know. Expert speaker. I mean, that's either a dream come true or an absolute nightmare, depending on your perspective. Host speaker? Right. Expert speaker. And your tolerance for puns. Host speaker. Exactly. The article describes this poltergeist as a mischievous trickster who loves to torment the players with an endless barrage of groan-worthy jokes. Books fly off the shelves, rearranging themselves into pun-filled messages, and objects move around the room in a chaotic dance of wordplay. Expert speaker. I can just imagine the players trying to decipher these messages while simultaneously trying to avoid being hit by flying books. Host speaker. Yeah, the real challenge here isn't just enduring the puns, it's deciphering them. The puns themselves might contain clues to solving the mystery of the library, or they might simply be a form of psychological torture designed to break the player's spirits. Expert speaker. Oh, the humanity. It's a brilliant way to combine puzzle solving with humor, though. And the beauty of it is that you can tailor the puns to your player's specific tastes. Are they fans of dad jokes? Do they appreciate clever wordplay? The possibilities for punishment are endless. Host speaker. I love that punishment. That's great. Okay, now let's step into a trap that plays with the very fabric of time. The temporal pie paradox. Imagine you're exploring a long-forgotten dungeon and you stumble upon this cozy kitchen complete with a freshly baked pie sitting on the windowsill. It seems like a welcome respite from the dangers of the dungeon. But, as we all know, things are rarely that simple. Expert speaker. Right, host speaker. This trap is all about exploring the concept of time loops. Anyone who takes a bite of this seemingly harmless pie gets trapped in a repeating time loop, reliving the same few minutes over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day, but with a D&D twist. Expert speaker. I love that. What a great idea. Host speaker. The article suggests that only those who eat the pie retain their memories of the previous loops. So imagine the chaos and confusion as your players try to explain to their companions that they've already lived through this moment a dozen times before. It's a recipe for hilarious miscommunication and some truly mind-bending role-playing. Expert speaker. Right, and not only that, but you can have so much fun with the mechanics of the time loop. Like maybe each time the loop resets, the environment changes slightly, or a new clue appears, or maybe the pie just keeps reappearing no matter how many times they try to get rid of it. Host speaker. Yeah. Expert speaker. The possibilities are endless. Host speaker. I love that. Expert speaker. Yeah. Host speaker. And the real challenge here is figuring out how to break the loop. It requires thinking outside the box, experimenting with different actions, and collaborating with your fellow players to uncover the key to escaping this temporal trap. Expert speaker. Absolutely. And it's not just about escaping the loop, it's about what the players learn from the experience. Do they start to question their own sanity? Do they become more reckless, knowing that they can always reset the loop? Do they develop a newfound appreciation for the little things in life? The time loop can be a really powerful tool for character development and storytelling. Host speaker. Now, let's talk about a trap that takes a classic comedy staple and turns it into a potentially deadly situation. The gravity-defying banana peel. We've all seen the banana peel slip in cartoons and movies. It's a timeless gag. But in this trap, the banana peel doesn't send you slipping. It sends you floating towards the ceiling. Expert speaker. Oh no. Host speaker. Imagine your players are strolling through a dungeon corridor, minding their own business, when suddenly they step near a banana peel and whoosh, they're defying gravity. Now it's not just about avoiding a bruised ego, it's about surviving whatever awaits on the ceiling. Are there spikes? Sticky substances? Or maybe just a really hard landing? Expert speaker. Oh gosh, yeah. So many possibilities. Host speaker. The article suggests incorporating mechanics like dexterity saves to see if the players can grab onto something before they float away. And it encourages DMs to get creative with the ceiling itself. Imagine your players frantically trying to maneuver themselves away from a ceiling fan or a cluster of stalactites, all while upside down. Expert speaker. I'm really laughing just thinking about it. Host speaker.
I know, right?
And think about the role-playing opportunities. A stoic warrior suddenly finding themselves suspended in midair, a nimble rogue desperately trying to maintain their composure while dangling from a chandelier. The absurdity of the situation is bound to lead to some hilarious character interactions. Expert speaker. Absolutely. Host speaker. All right, let's move on to a trap that's all about awkwardness and restraint. The room of inconvenient silence. Picture this. You step into a chamber that's eerily quiet, where even the slightest whisper triggers unforeseen and often embarrassing magical effects. It's like the room itself demands respect and punishes those who dare to break the silence. Expert speaker. Oh, that's so clever. I love it. Host speaker. The players are so used to the clatter of combat and the chatter of conversation that being forced to remain silent creates a completely different dynamic. Expert speaker. Right. And it really forces them to think outside the box in terms of communication. Can they use hand signals? Can they draw diagrams? Can they somehow magically project their thoughts? The challenge is not just staying silent, it's finding creative ways to communicate and collaborate with each other. Host speaker. The article suggests a variety of potential inconveniences, from wardrobe malfunctions to object swapping places. It's not about dealing damage or inflicting pain, but rather about creating a series of awkward and humorous situations that will challenge the player's ability to think creatively and maintain their composure. Expert speaker. Oh, imagine trying to solve a puzzle or overcome an obstacle in complete silence. It's a recipe for miscommunication, misunderstandings, and some truly comical moments. Host speaker. Okay, this next trap is more silly than scary. The pit of plushy peril. Imagine a classic pick trap, but instead of spikes or monsters, it's filled to the brim with animated plush toys. Expert speaker. Oh no, not plushies. Host speaker. I know, right? I can already see it now. A party of hardened adventurers suddenly finding themselves surrounded by a swarm of cuddly creatures, launching a barrage of soft, ineffective attacks. Talk about an anticlimactic battle. Expert speaker. It's the ultimate subversion of expectations. You expect a pit trap to be this deadly threat, and instead you're faced with a bunch of adorable, albeit slightly annoying plushies. It's a moment of pure levity that's sure to elicit groans and giggles from the players. Host speaker.
Yeah, and the article suggests that these plushies are more of a hindrance than a real threat. They might cling to the players, slowing their movements, or launch a barrage of soft, fluffy projectiles. It's less about combat and more about trying to escape this avalanche of cuteness while maintaining some semblance of dignity. Expert speaker. And imagine the role-playing opportunities here. Does the stoic warrior suddenly melt at the sight of a cuddly teddy bear? Does the nimble rogue try to use the plushies as a makeshift ladder to escape? The possibilities for humor are endless. Host speaker. Okay, this next trap is sure to get under your player's skin. The statues of sarcasm. Imagine a grand hall lined with statues of ancient heroes and mythical creatures, but instead of offering wisdom or guidance, these statues come to life, verbally that is. And they're armed with a barrage of biting sarcasm and snarky commentary. Expert speaker! Oh my gosh, I love it. Host speaker. What's fascinating about this trap is its psychological impact. The statues aren't physically attacking the players, but their words can be just as cutting.
They might comment on the players' flaws, mock their choices, or simply offer a running commentary of sarcastic observations that's sure to get under their skin. Expert speaker. Oh, it's like a Greek chorus. But instead of providing insightful commentary, they're just roasting the players the entire time. Host speaker. Right. The article suggests incorporating mechanics like wisdom saves to see if the players can resist the psychological effects of the statue's taunts. And of course, there's always the possibility of hidden traps within the hall itself, making it even harder for the players to focus amidst the constant barrage of verbal jabs. Expert speaker. Yeah, that's a great point. It becomes this like multi-layered challenge where the players have to deal with both the psychological warfare of the statues and the physical dangers of the environment. Host speaker. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now the next chap is a classic for a reason. The hallway of endless doors. It's a simple concept, but oh so effective. Imagine a seemingly infinite corridor lined with countless identical doors, each one leading to, well, more doors. It's a labyrinthine loop designed to confound and disorient even the most seasoned adventurers. Expert speaker. Oh, the classic endless hallway trap. It's a staple of dungeons for a reason. It's just so effective at creating a sense of claustrophobia and disorientation. Host speaker. And it plays on that primal fear of being lost and trapped. The players can try marking doors using spells or any other clever trick they can think of, but the hallway's magic seems to negate their efforts. It's a frustrating yet undeniably humorous situation that's sure to test their patience and their sanity. Expert speaker. The article suggests incorporating elements of randomness into the doors. So opening one might lead to another identical hallway, a broom closet, a small treasure room, or even something completely unexpected. It keeps the players on their toes and adds to the overall sense of disorientation. Host speaker. Yeah, imagine the role-playing opportunities here. Does the stoic warrior start questioning their sense of direction? Does the nimble rogue break down and start kicking doors in frustration? The endless repetition is bound to lead to some hilarious character moments and memorable campaign stories. Expert speaker. And it's not just about the physical disorientation. The endless hallway can also be a metaphor for the challenges and setbacks we face in life. How do we cope when we feel lost and directionless? How do we find the strength to keep going when it seems like we're making no progress? The hallway of endless doors can be a surprisingly profound trap if you approach it from the right angle. Host speaker. Okay, let's talk about a trap that's sure to have your players checking their reflections. The fountain of sudden baldness. Imagine a beautiful fountain tucked away in a serene garden within a dungeon. It seems like a peaceful oasis, but there's a catch. Anyone who approaches too closely or touches the water suddenly finds themselves well bald. Expert speaker. Oh no, not the hair. Host speaker. I know. This trap is a great example of using humor to subvert expectations. You expect the dungeon fountain to be a source of healing or magical power, but instead it inflicts a harmless yet potentially embarrassing cosmetic change. It's a lighthearted twist that's sure to elicit groans and laughter from the players, especially those who take pride in their character's appearance. Expert speaker. I think it would be hilarious to see how different characters react to sudden baldness. Would the vain rogue try to hide their bald head under a helmet or a hat? Would the stoic warrior embrace their new look and shave their head completely? Would the bookish wizard try to find a magical cure? The possibilities for role-playing are endless. Host speaker. Absolutely. The article suggests incorporating mechanics like constitution saves to see if the players can resist the hair loss effect. And of course, there's always the question of what happens to any magical items or abilities tied to the character's hair. Does a bald wizard suddenly lose their spellcasting prowess because their enchanted hairband is gone? Does a bald barbarian lose their intimidating aura because their beard was the source of their strength? The possibilities for comedic complications are endless. Expert speaker. Yeah. And imagine the social implications of sudden baldness. Does the party become the subject of ridicule in the next town they visit? Do they have to come up with a cover story to explain their sudden change in appearance? Does it affect their relationships with other NPCs? It's a simple trap with the potential for some really interesting ripple effects, host speaker. And think about the role-playing goldmine here. Does the vain rogue suddenly become self-conscious and refuse to leave the party's campsite? Does the stoic warrior try to fashion a makeshift wig out of moss and twigs? A sudden change in appearance can lead to some truly hilarious character moments. Expert speaker. It's a great reminder that sometimes the most memorable moments in D&D come from the unexpected, from the things that challenge our assumptions and force us to think outside the box.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of hilarious and deadly D&D traps.
We're picking up right where we left off, exploring Isaac Hansen's creative traps from his Lit RPG Reads article.
And remember, this isn't just about using these specific traps. It's about understanding the principles behind them, the way they blend danger and comedy, and how you can apply those principles to your own campaign.
Exactly. It's about taking these ideas and making them your own. So let's jump back in with a trap that plays on vanity and adaptation. The Fountain of Sudden Baldness. We touched on this one earlier, but there's so much to unpack here. Imagine your party, weary from their adventures, stumbling upon a serene garden within a dungeon. A beautiful fountain beckons, promising respite and refreshment. But as we know, things aren't always as they seem in the world of D&D.
Right. What's so brilliant about this trap is the way it subverts expectations on multiple levels. First, you have the contrast between the tranquil setting and the potential for danger. Gardens are typically associated with peace and beauty, not traps and peril, so the players are already lulled into a false sense of security.
Right, and then there's the effect itself. Sudden baldness. It's not life-threatening, it doesn't inflict pain, but it can be incredibly embarrassing and inconvenient, especially for characters who take pride in their appearance.
Definitely. Imagine a vain rogue, known for their flowing locks, suddenly finding themselves completely bald. Or a stoic warrior whose long beard was a symbol of their strength and wisdom, now sporting a smooth chin. It's a moment ripe for comedic role-playing and potential character development.
The article suggests incorporating mechanics like constitution saves to see if the players can resist the hair loss effect. And it raises an interesting question. What happens to magical items or abilities tied to a character's hair?
Does a bald wizard suddenly lose their spellcasting prowess because their enchanted hairband is gone? Does a bald barbarian lose their intimidating aura because their beard was the source of their strength? These are the kinds of questions that can lead to some truly hilarious and unexpected consequences.
It's all about thinking about the ripple effects. How one seemingly small change can have a cascading impact on the game. And that's where the real fun lies.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the unexpected and seeing where the story takes you.
Okay, let's move on to a trap that's pure slapstick genius. The enchanted whoopee cushion. We briefly touched on this one earlier, but I can't resist delving a little deeper. Picture this. Your party has finally reached the throne room. They've overcome countless challenges, and they're expecting a grand reward. But as they approach the throne, they notice something out of place. Resting atop that seat of power is a whoopee cushion.
And not just any whoopee cushion. This one's enchanted. It's a brilliant juxtaposition of the mundane and the magical, the regal and the ridiculous. The players are expecting a moment of triumph, and instead, they're faced with a potential source of embarrassment and chaos.
The article suggests incorporating a variety of magical effects, from deafening flatulent noises that echo through the chamber to illusory pranks, like pants falling down or clown makeup appearing on the sitter's face. It's a recipe for pure, unadulterated chaos, and it's sure to have the players both laughing and groaning in equal measure.
And let's not forget the role-playing opportunities. Does the stoic warrior try to maintain their composure while battling a wave of uncontrollable laughter? Does the nimble rogue use the distraction to their advantage, slipping away unnoticed amidst the chaos? The possibilities for humor are endless.
This trap is a reminder that sometimes the most effective humor comes from the unexpected, from taking something ordinary and twisting it into something absurd and hilarious.
It's about finding the humor in the mundane and using it to create a truly memorable gaming experience.
All right, let's shift gears and explore a trap that's more about intellectual challenge than slapstick comedy. The library of mispronunciation. Imagine a vast library, a haven for knowledge seekers, but with a mischievous twist. In this library, words hold power, and mispronouncing them can have some truly wild consequences.
This trap is a fascinating exploration of the power of language and the potential for comedic chaos when that power is mishandled. It's like a magical spelling bee where the stakes are far higher than a simple grade. The players are surrounded by ancient texts, promising secrets and spells, but accessing that knowledge requires careful pronunciation and a deep understanding of arcane linguistics.
The article suggests incorporating a wide range of magical effects, from sudden changes in size and color to temporary transformations into animals. It's not about inflicting damage or causing harm, but rather about creating a series of amusing and unexpected situations that will challenge the player's ability to think on their feet and adapt to their ever-changing circumstances.
And imagine the role-playing opportunities here. Does the bookish wizard suddenly find themselves transformed into a toad, hopping around the library in search of a counterspell? Does the stoic warrior accidentally turn themselves blue and spend the rest of the adventure trying to hide their newfound hue? The possibilities for humor are endless.
This trap is a great example of how you can use humor to encourage players to think creatively and to engage with the game world in a more meaningful way.
It's about rewarding curiosity and attention to detail while also creating opportunities for laughter and unexpected twists.
Now, before we move on to the section on creating your own traps, I want to touch on something that struck me as particularly brilliant about this article. It's not just about the traps themselves, it's about the philosophy behind them.
Absolutely. The article goes beyond simply presenting a list of traps. It emphasizes the importance of understanding your players, their sense of humor, and the overall tone of your campaign. It encourages dungeon masters to be creative, to think outside the box, and to embrace the unexpected.
One of the key takeaways for me was the idea that traps shouldn't be about punishing the players. They should be about creating memorable moments, about challenging them in unexpected ways, and about injecting a sense of fun and lightheartedness into the game.
And I think that's a really important point. Too often, traps are seen as simply obstacles to overcome, as ways to inflict damage or slow down the player's progress. But when designed thoughtfully, traps can be so much more than that. They can be opportunities for storytelling, for character development, and for creating shared experiences that will have everyone at the table laughing and reminiscing long after the session is over.
Exactly. So with that in mind, let's delve into the article section on creating your own unique and hilarious traps. This is where the real magic happens, where you get to unleash your creativity and tailor the traps to your specific campaign and your players' personalities.
The article provides a step-by-step guide to designing funny traps, emphasizing the importance of understanding your player's sense of humor, incorporating surprise elements, and balancing danger and comedy. It even includes a set of random tables to help spark inspiration. You can roll for different trap themes, triggers, effects, and resolution methods, mixing and matching to create a seemingly infinite variety of hilarious scenarios.
These tables are a fantastic resource for any dungeon master, whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out. They take the guesswork out of trap design, providing a framework for creativity, and ensuring that your traps are both entertaining and engaging for your players.
Let's walk through a couple of examples to see how these tables can be used to generate trap ideas.
Great idea. So for our first example, let's roll for a trap theme.
Okay, we got prankster creatures.
Perfect. Now let's roll for a trigger.
We got reading an inscription.
All right, so we have a trap involving prankster creatures that's triggered by reading an inscription. Now, for the effect.
And we got involuntary laughter.
This is shaping up to be quite a hilarious trap. So imagine this. The players are exploring ancient ruins, and they come across an inscription on a wall. As soon as they start reading it aloud, they're overcome by a fit of uncontrollable laughter.
But it's not just them. It's everyone in the vicinity. The laughter is contagious, spreading like wildfire through the party and any nearby creatures. Suddenly, the dungeon is filled with the sound of uproarious laughter, making it impossible to concentrate or take the situation seriously.
And let's not forget the resolution. We need to roll for that.
We got solving a humorous riddle.
Okay, so to break the curse of involuntary laughter, the players must solve a riddle posed by a mischievous sprite that appears amidst the chaos. The sprite is clearly enjoying the situation, reveling in the player's predicament.
This is a great example of how a simple set of random rolls can be used to generate a trap that's both hilarious and engaging. And of course, you can always tweak and modify the details to fit your specific campaign needs.
All right, let's try one more example. This time, let's go for a trap theme that's a bit more out there.
Okay, we got time and space anomalies.
Intriguing. Now let's see what kind of trigger we get.
We got attempting to open a door.
Okay, so we have a trap involving time and space anomalies that's triggered by opening a door. Now for the effect.
And we got gravity becomes sideways.
Now this is getting interesting. Imagine the players approaching a seemingly ordinary door. They reach for the handle, expecting to find another room or corridor. But as soon as they open the door, gravity shifts, and they find themselves walking on walls.
Everything in the room is tilted at a 90-degree angle, making it incredibly disorienting and difficult to navigate. Objects slide off shelves, furniture topples over, and the players struggle to keep their balance.
And for the resolution, let's see what the dice have in store for us.
We got using a rare or unusual item.
All right, so to restore gravity to its normal orientation, the players need to find and use a specific item, perhaps a magical compass or a gravity-altering device, hidden somewhere within the room.
This trap is a great example of how you can use time and space anomalies to create a truly mind-bending and hilarious experience for your players. And the fact that it requires a specific item to resolve adds an element of puzzle solving to the mix.
Now, as we wrap up this second part of our deep dive, I want to reiterate the importance of tailoring these traps to your specific campaign and your players' personalities.
What might be hilarious for one group of players might fall flat for another. It's about knowing your audience, understanding their sense of humor, and creating traps that will resonate with them on a personal level.
And don't be afraid to experiment. The beauty of D&D is that there are no limits to your creativity, so go out there. Unleash your inner prankster and create some truly memorable traps that will have your players both laughing and cheering for more. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into hilarious D&D traps inspired by Isaac Hansen's article on Lit RPG Reads.
We've explored some truly wild and wacky traps, from pun-loving sphinxes to gravity-defying banana peels.
And we've even delved into the art of creating your own custom traps using random tables and a healthy dose of imagination.
But before we wrap things up, I want to shift gears and talk about something that's often overlooked when discussing traps: the importance of role-playing.
Absolutely. These traps are not just about mechanics and dice rolls. They're about creating opportunities for players to embody their characters, to react in unexpected ways, and to add their own unique flavor to the story.
Exactly. Imagine, for example, a party of adventurers encountering the Fountain of Sudden Baldness. The mechanics might dictate that a character who fails their Constitution save loses all their hair. But it's up to the player to decide how their character reacts to this sudden change in appearance.
Right. Does the vain rogue have a complete meltdown, lamenting the loss of their luscious locks? Does the stoic warrior shave their head in solidarity with their bald companions? Does the bookish wizard try to find a magical cure, combing through ancient texts in search of a hair restoration spell?
The possibilities are endless, and it's these moments of character interaction, of unexpected reactions and creative problem solving that truly bring these traps to life.
It's about going beyond the mechanics and embracing the collaborative storytelling aspect of D&D.
And I think that's what makes these hilarious traps so effective. They provide a framework for both dungeon masters and players to inject humor and personality into the game, to create memorable moments that will have everyone at the table laughing and reminiscing long after the session is over.
Speaking of memorable moments, it reminds me of a time when our group was exploring a haunted mansion. We stumbled upon a room that was completely empty, except for a single grand piano. Naturally, our bard couldn't resist sitting down and playing a tune.
Oh, I can already see where this is going.
As soon as their fingers touched the keys, the piano came to life, playing along with them. But it wasn't playing the same tune. It was playing a completely different melody, a chaotic and discordant one at that.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was. The clashing melodies created a sonic shockwave that nearly knocked us off our feet. And then the piano started levitating, spinning around the room while still playing that crazy tune.
Oh my goodness. So how did you escape that one?
It took a combination of quick thinking and sheer luck. Our cleric managed to cast a silent spell on the piano, while our rogue disabled the magical mechanism that was animating it. It was a close call, but it made for a fantastic story.
That's the beauty of these kinds of traps. They create opportunities for both challenge and hilarity, and they often lead to the most memorable moments in a campaign.
Exactly. It's about embracing the unexpected and finding the humor in even the most dangerous situations.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's take a moment to appreciate the power of laughter, the joy of creative expression, and the importance of embracing the unexpected in our D&D campaigns.
Remember, a well-designed trap is not just an obstacle to overcome. It's an opportunity to tell a story, to develop characters, and to create shared experiences that will forge lasting memories.
And a huge thank you to Paul Bello, a fine fellow over at Lit RPG Reads, for the fantastic source material.
To you, dear listener, we leave you with this final thought. What seemingly harmless everyday item could you turn into a hilarious and deadly D&D trap?
Until next time, keep those dice rolling and the laughter echoing through your dungeons.